Again, thank you so much for having me here today. I am, of course, joined by the indomitable Dr. Missy Stults, Ann Arbor resident in this context, but also the head of the Ann Arbor Office of Sustainability and Innovation. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing in the city with respect to climate initiatives, and of course, the Community Climate Action Millage, which is going to be on your Ann Arbor November ballot. We're going to talk a little bit of brief history about the city's climate action, share why climate action is important, and then give some examples of the type of services and programs that the millage, if successful, is going to support. And I want to give you a little spoiler alert on that. Clean, reliable, affordable local electricity, drive to zero waste through year-round composting and expanded recycling, energy programs in homes and businesses to save money and increase comfort, miles of new bikeways and pedestrian infrastructure, neighborhood resilience centers, aggressive EV infrastructure support, and thousands of trees. That is what we're looking to do in the city. All right. To ground this conversation, I think it's useful to look at where we've been. Ann Arbor has long, of course, been a vanguard of environmental work, and the slide that you have up shows a little timeline of that. Major environmental activities or milestones beginning back in 1981, when the city formed its Energy Advisory Board and an energy plan, all the way to 2019, 21, and when we declared a climate emergency and ultimately adopted A20, which was and is our plan for achieving a just transition to community-wide carbon neutrality by the year 2030. All right, so now while we've long been a vanguard in setting goals and plans, we do, of course, America have a history of underinvesting in achieving those goals, and that's why we created the A20 plan to focus our efforts. That plan includes a governance framework, which will outline how this plan is going to remain a living and iterative plan over the course of the next years. It includes a prioritization framework that demonstrates how these proposed actions and services and programs that we look to roll out to Ann Arbor residents and community members, how those are going to be evaluated to ensure that we have the same level of rigor as the actions currently in our plan, and ultimately an investment scenario, which lays out one possible pathway for achieving our goal of community-wide carbon neutrality. And so ultimately, these are all driving to the A20 plan, which is dollars in the community, comfortable homes and businesses, air quality improvements, greater social cohesion, health, higher quality services, better infrastructure, and more. I'm preaching to the choir as to the existence of climate change, but it's important to keep emphasizing. It is not an issue for tomorrow. It is an issue for, frankly, yesterday and today. If we look at records over the past decades, we find that temperatures in Ann Arbor have already risen by a degree Fahrenheit. Rain and snowfall, precipitation has already increased considerably, and our seasons have shifted. And what the science tells us is that these impacts are going to be more severe and more frequent. And that's why the A20 approach is centered around managing unavoidable conflicts, as well as doing everything we can to adapt and increase resilience while we look to avoid the unmanageable impacts by changing what we do to actually mitigate and reduce the climate pollution that we in Ann Arbor emit. And in order to achieve these important goals, mitigation and avoidance, that's why we're exploring and rolling out the Climate Action Millage, the Community Climate Action Millage. The millage and the plan, it's more than just about climate change, because climate change in the abstract is as plain and obvious good, but it is also not how people feel about what touches their lives. And so I think it's important that we note and emphasize that the A20 plan and the Community Climate Action Millage will result in actual services for actual people actually in Ann Arbor, actual benefits for actual people actually in Ann Arbor. And that's what I want to talk about going forward. And so what do we get from the Community Climate Action Millage, from the implementation of the A20 plan? The Community Climate Action Millage is a 20-year millage that would raise approximately $7 million a year to affect climate action. That will be about $125 annually for a property with an average taxable value of $125,000. The Community Climate Action Millage is going to be used primarily in three bundled areas. Number one, to create and provide services that are going to move the city towards zero waste or circular economy. Two, we're going to advance the deployment and utilization of renewable energies in the community. Three, deep energy efficiency and associated cost-saving initiatives in residences and in businesses. Four, we're going to expand bike and pedestrian transit infrastructure. Five, we're going to advance neighborhood and community resilience and preparedness, largely through localized centers. And finally, we're going to look to create and sustain home and transportation-related electrification programs with specificity, because it's important that we emphasize these are going to be things for actual people actually in Ann Arbor. We're going to look to expand composting year-round and frequently, expand recycling in multifamily homes as well. Look to expand reuse services and programs towards, like I said, multifamily and commercial enterprises, support for local and sustainable food generation and use, construction waste recovery programs, reduction of plastic waste, and so forth. With respect to renewable energy services, we're going to look to aim at powering our electrical grid with 100% renewable energy. And we're going to do this through educational activities, of course, community solar programs, bulk discount programs, low-income renewable energy programs that help, remove or lower barriers for accessing renewable energy, and especially for lower-income households, potentially seeding a rate-funded clean energy utility. Monies are going to be used for the design and construction of renewable energy installations at municipal and public sites, including installations that are designed to be community solar programs. That'll include, of course, everyone in Ann Arbor who wants to be able to participate. The next purpose is going to support energy efficiency and weatherization programs. This is going to be a specific and tangible benefit to the businesses and residences that participate to improve their energy and water efficiency in homes, while also thereby improving comfort and affordability. These programs are going to be the sorts of things that are going to help seniors age in place, help the greening of our rental infrastructure, and our current affordable housing infrastructure, expanding broad weatherization services, bulk buys and discount programs, green business initiatives, and energy concierge services. And we're looking in these areas to ensure that about 40% of funding with this particular purpose is going to go towards low-income and or rental property energy and water efficiency programs. This purpose, bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, is going to look to expand and create and sustain the city's non-motorized transportation network, improve transit services. You've seen protected bikeways roll out in the city. We're going to be looking for more of these. Improved crosswalk infrastructure, neighborhood walking paths, and the creation of multimodal transportation systems. It's incredibly important that as we look to have A20 roll out tangible benefits for actual people actually in Ann Arbor, that they see that the transportation network is an important part of that. Next, there will be an emphasis on neighborhood and community resilience, preparedness for climate change and natural disasters. We've already seen, here in Michigan even, but certainly throughout the country, more weather events, more natural disasters, and we are, we work on the weather bubble here in Ann Arbor, but it's not, it's not foolproof, and so we need to make sure that our neighborhoods are adequately protected. These include efforts such as the creation of neighborhood community and resilience centers, neighborhood emergency preparedness activities, community resource sharing, tree plantings, and of course, enhanced heat and flood monitoring and management systems. Finally, we're going to look to support beneficial electrification within our built environments. This includes support for building and installing public electric vehicle charging stations on public sites, multifamily residential sales in commercial areas throughout the city, as well as education and training and programs focused on supporting appliance and vehicle electrification, including fleet electrification. We're going to look to have programs and services aimed at lowering upfront costs to accessing electrified transit and transportation, especially for low and moderate income households. I want to touch a little bit, finally, those being the sort of the pillars of how we're going to approach community climate action, the things we're actually going to do with respect to community climate action. I want to talk about how we're going to do these things. And it's important to note that to the fullest extent possible, we're going to look to advance equity by ensuring that Ann Arbor's lower income residents and communities of color are centered in the creation and implementation of these programs. They're going to be at the table. They're going to income income is, to the extent we are legally able to do it, is going to be bundled into the scoring. These are going to be part of our rubrics, of our metrics, as we decide what to do, where we decide to do it. We're going to look to support educational efforts as well with respect to the administrative and ancillary costs required to complete these programs. And naturally, we're going to look to get as much match funding as we can. In one way that we are able, I'd like to talk a little bit and super briefly as perhaps my next to last slide, a tangible example of what I mean by efforts within a community that does require particular assistance, and that is in our Bryant area. I want to highlight this. This is exactly the sort of work that we're going to want to do with the Community Climate Action Millage. We're doing it now in Bryant, and it's going to be accelerated and expanded and enabled by a past millage. We're working with residents, Community Action Network, Bryant Community Center, and Elevate, and others to make the Bryant neighborhood our first fully decarbonized neighborhood in the Midwest and maybe the nation. We are doing this not from a top-down, here's how it's going to be. The projects that we are working on rolling out center residents, their desires, needs, comfort, their vision for their community. Together with residents, we're designing methodologies and strategies to help improve safety and health and comfort and affordability. We are partnering with the McKnight Foundation. We're looking to achieve EPA grants for the purpose, and we have some measure of optimism there. Our goal is to make the Bryant neighborhood our first decarbonized neighborhood, which would have plain and obvious benefits for the residents, for equity, and be a real demonstration that this is how we plan on rolling this thing out. And so finally, I'd just like to say thanks for having this opportunity to give you a sense of the Community Climate Action Millage and what we intend to do with it if the voters pass it in November 22. Real, tangible community climate action for actual residents in Ann Arbor right now. And so that's the end of my show. That's the end of my sharing. I'd like to, again, thank you for having me. I don't know where we are with respect to time, but I do know that it is short, but in the event that I can answer questions or Dr. Stults can answer questions, be delighted to do so.
Thank you so much, Mayor Taylor.